In this video, we're talking about Epic Universe's possible impact on Walt Disney World. There was a great article released the other day from the Wall Street Journal. We're going to go through it, break it down, discuss it. Up next, we got the Italiano showing some chest hair today on this episode of OG 5055. Yo, what is up, everybody, to this episode of OG 55. The Italiano's with me today. We're talking Epic Universe's effect on the Walt Disney World Resort, or possible impact on it. We're going to break down this fantastic article. But before we do, George, if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is. Let's rock and roll. All right, here we go. So this is the Wall Street Journal. And very positive article, directed at Universal. So typically when there's a positive article for Disney, there's usually some sinister backstory, like who did Bob Iger pay or whatever to get that article published. So I'm wondering here with Wall Street Journal, who did Brian Roberts pay to no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Well, kind of. No. So the title of this article is "The Threat in Disney's Backyard. Smaller rival Universal is expanding its parks, mobilizing Harry Potter, Super Mario, and an army of minions to steal away Walt Disney World visitors." This is interesting stuff. This is very interesting stuff here. So we're going to kind of break this down, George, and we'll talk about along the way.
Sounds good.
So it says here, when the Universal Epic Universe, our friend Jack loves that, right?
Yeah, of course. I still can't get used to that.
I know. Ever since when we had him on, ever since he mentioned that, now I can't unsee that. Universe.
Because now I'm starting to just call it Epic Universal, and it's like it's not. It's Universal's Epic Universe, and it's like
right, exactly. It's like Walt Disney's. It's like, I guess it'd be like
Walt Disney's Disneyland, inspired by Walt Disney.
Exactly. There you go. Exactly. So when the Universal Epic Universe theme park opens next year, it will add 750 acres populated by Harry Potter, Donkey Kong, and the dragons to the company's Central Florida resort. Okay. Then it says here, it will also be an epic shot across Walt Disney. Okay. So this is just 10 miles down the Interstate 4. So let's kind of break this down. It says here, to understand the stakes for both companies, consider this. A common vacation itinerary includes 3 or 4 days at Walt Disney World and 1 or 2 days at Universal. If Universal can now persuade families to spend more days at its parks instead of at Disney, it could nab hundreds of millions of dollars in annual revenue. Now, you're going to notice a trend in this article. It's a lot of if, could, a lot of like Daddy Josh kind of stuff, right?
I was just gonna say maybe he's the one that got paid.
Right, maybe. Yeah, it's a lot of if, maybe, could be sort of thing. But look, to be fair, yes, this is kind of the goal for Universal, right? They want to gain market share. And we've been saying this for a long time. They're in market share mode. Walt Disney World is not. Walt Disney World is a mature resort. They're not in market share mode. So yes, that's the goal. They want to pull a day away or as many days away if they can from Disney. Here's the thing, and I've said this many times, but not everyone watches every video, so sometimes it bears repeating. There's no guarantee it's going to work out that way. When people say, okay, well, Universal's building a new park, therefore Disney's parks are the ones that are going to receive the brunt end of that, and they're going to pull away from Disney. That's not a guaranteed thing. And even Universal understands that, which is why Universal has plans, what we hear with Zelda, right? And all these other plans with like Pokemon and what have you, to offset some of the possible cannibalization of their own parks because of Epic Universe. Now, Disney had some cannibalization when they built Animal Kingdom in the late 90s. It has absolute cannibalization when that. So this is not like this unheard of thing. This is not some like weird like conspiracy theory, nothing like that. This happens all the time. So, am I saying that that's going to happen for sure? No. Do I think that's going to happen? I do. I do believe that Universal is going to see some cannibalization. Now, what they have to do in order to do what they want to do here is they have to maintain what they have now and add to it. Can they do that? I just don't know. There is only so much time, money, and PTO people can spend. You know, like how many days can the average family spend on vacation? We're getting to the point now in Orlando where it's like you're going to have 3 Universal parks and a water park. You're also going to have 4 Walt Disney World theme parks and 2, depending on when you go, water parks at Walt Disney World because they're sporadic openings, you know, off and on. But that's a lot of shit to do, though. You know what I'm saying? And families now are going to have to start making decisions. Are we going to try to do all these and spend 2.5 weeks in Florida? Or are we going to pick and choose? I think people are going to choose the latter. They're going to start picking and choosing. It's not a guarantee Universal is just going to automatically gain days. They could. I'm not saying they won't for sure, but it's not a guarantee. That's kind of where I stand with it. We'll see how it shakes out. But what do you think so far, George?
I agree with everything that you're saying, and actually to add on to what you just last said, and we see it already with guests going down to Florida for their summer vacation or their once in a lifetime family trips. That when you see people staying in, just to say, a Disney resort hotel, you see them coming back from like a shuttle or a cab or an Uber or a Lyft, and they have Universal bags. I've seen it done by staying in Cabana Bay on Universal property. I've seen people coming in with Disney bags. So
Right.
I think it kind of offsets the notion that no matter what Universal puts in or no matter what Disney puts in, it may take a little bit here or there, but I think in the end, it still evens out. Because whether or not that they use a day at Universal and they take away from the park, guess what? The family could still be staying on Disney property. So they're still paying for the Disney hotel. They come back to said Disney hotel. They may get something at the food court, maybe buy a little merch, by the lobby or what have you. Go to Disney Springs in the evening. So they're still giving Disney their own percentage of money on that trip, whether they decide to knock a theme park. Just because if a family doesn't go to a Disney theme park, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not giving Disney their money in some odd shape or form.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think Universal does want to get that family staying at the Universal hotels. Um, and they might succeed in that. The thing with this though is that when you have the vast majority of your vacation, I think everyone can kind of agree with this. I think the vast majority of a vacation in Florida for a family is going to be at Walt Disney World. The vast majority of your vacation time will be there, likely, right? Um, so I think that's kind of the kind of like what's happening here is like I think I agree with you. I think they're going to stay at Walt Disney World because that's where the bulk of the action is, and then they're going to travel to Universal and have that day and come back to Walt Disney World. And um, now to be fair to Universal, their hotels are very very. I hate saying this word, value orientated, right? They have a lot of value. Out of everything Universal does in terms of the pricing, I think the hotel stuff is probably the best, right? Because we talked about a lot here on the
Mhm.
channel. People say Universal's cheaper. Yeah, from a lot of things, it really isn't. Okay, I've been to Universal Hollywood recently. The Mario boba drinks and stuff are very expensive. They sell you $20 draft beers at Wizarding World. It's not cheap, y'all. It's not cheap. Okay, but the Universal's hotels are a good value. So I think Universal does want to pull from Disney. The only problem, though, logistically, when the bulk of the action is over at Walt Disney World, it's kind of an inconvenience if you're staying at Universal then because you're commuting more than you have to, you
Now,
know?
I do know that the Cabana Bay Hotel and Aventura hotels are pretty decent, in line for like the value resorts. Now, like the Hard Rock, the Lowe's, and I think there was another one I forget. Um, the bigger ones that are closer to the parks, those ones could get pretty steep. I mean, you're looking at like a high moderate to deluxe pricing
Okay.
for those hotels. So I mean, when you attach it as a universal vacation package, every time that I do it, and especially if you add like the express pass to it, it sometimes it could even be more depending
Well,
on what time of season you go opposite to Disney World, or it can kind of even out. I don't never ever remember looking at two different of a Disney World package or a Universal package, and I say, oh my gosh, I've saved thousands upon thousands of dollars with a Universal package.
well, you did Universal with your family,
Mm-hmm.
with your ex-wife and your son, right? That was what, like maybe a year and a half ago or something,
That was
2 years
2 years
ago.
ago. 2 years ago.
And you were saying that when you add the Universal Express thing, you had a whole story about how much it went up.
Oh yeah, that went up like $2,000 just to skip the lines for just adding into the vacation package. And again, we spent, I believe it was 2 weeks at Walt Disney World, because what we did was we just kind of wanted to not just do the parks, but we kind of just wanted to have off days and what have you. And then we did, I think, like 5 days at Universal, and it basically evened out. 2 weeks at Walt Disney World to Universal. And I know that's kind of hard to believe, but it did. And that was back in 2022.
Yeah, that's wild.
And again, we added the Express Pass, which again, I'd be biased to say, because I still think Disney needs to raise that price,
Of
because
course.
to Universal's credit, they don't have the issues with the with the lines that Disney does. But they can't say, oh, we are much cheaper than, I don't want to use cheap, but a better value than
Right.
Disney. Where it's, they do have some notions where it's like, okay, if you buy a 3-day park ticket, you get 2 days free, which is very true. But in the world of sales and marketing, for which that I have worked at, you tend to learn some things of strategy when you kind of up the price, and then you say, oh, we're marking it down, where
Right.
technically it's the starting price point. So
Oh,
technically you're
right.
really not losing it.
It's that Black Friday thing that they love,
Yeah.
these stores love to do. Well, and the other thing too is value is really in the eye of the beholder, right? Like for me, Universal, it's iffy if it's a good value for me because I'm not a big thrill junkie. I don't like a lot of big roller coasters, these Iron Giants. I don't go on a lot of that crap. And even like, I just don't, man. I don't care about any of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And even some of the stuff that's like not even a coaster, like, some of the normal stuff at Universal, like the Harry Potter stuff is a little too intense. Like I'm not into like being shaken around and thrown around. So is it a value for me to spend this money on a Universal park? Well, not really, because it's a lot of these parks, including Epic Universe, it looks like, is made for people that like to be thrown around and shot into the air. And I'm not into that stuff.
You're not into that crap.
I'm
I
not
love
into
that.
that crap.
I
I'm not
love
into
that.
that. I don't care how many inversions this, that, and the other it has. I'm not riding it. But the thing is like for the person who likes that stuff, it's a great value. Absolutely. But if you're like me and you're not into the thrilling stuff, Universal just doesn't have the value that a Disney does. Disney offers a better, and I think our friend Jay Shear has mentioned this too on the channel. Disney offers a better variety. They just do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you can deny, the people can deny all you want. If you're 25, healthy, and you want to ride roller coasters, Universal's great. But if you're not, it's not as good of a value. But go ahead. I'm
really
sorry.
quick to your point. Now, we attempted to go to Universal back in 2014 when my son had just turned 4, and we waited in a line to buy tickets. Literally, I think it was about like a 2-hour line that we waited to buy tickets, and the tickets for that particular day were like 150 something. So you were looking at like $450 plus tax for the three of us to go in for the one day at Universal. And the woman said to us at the ticket booth, she said, I'm going to be very honest with you. I know you probably stood in line for 2 hours. This isn't going to be a good thing for you, being that your son is 4 years old. There's not too much here that he can go on other than anything in Seuss Landing. Other than that, you're not really getting your ticket value. And
Right.
that was coming from a Universal team member that told
Right.
us that.
And that's a great point, George. It's value is in the eye of the beholder. Value depends on a case by case basis. So in your son's case or your family's case, the park doesn't offer enough to justify the cost. You know, so in some circumstances that happens. In some circumstances, it's worth it. If you're 25 and you're going with a bunch of homies, a bunch of friends, and you're like, yeah, you know what, let's do Universal, and you want to go on all the thrill rides, it's a great value. It just depends though on the person, and it's just for me personally, it's an okay value, you know, but it's not the value people make it out to be. At least for me personally, you know what I'm saying? It says here that Universal's timing couldn't be better. It's been 5 years since Disney opened a major expansion or new land in the company's parlance in Florida.
Here we go.
Yeah, this is interesting, right? It's been 5 whole years, George, 5 whole years. Those years have coincided with multiple rounds of ticket price increases, irking even some diehard Disney fans. Okay, the ticket pricing and all that I agree. That's gonna irritate fans. The nickel and diming, people don't like it. I understand that side of the argument. Fine.
Yeah.
But to say, look, it says here, it's been 5 years since Disney opened a major expansion or new land. 5 years. Galaxy's Edge. You know how long it's been since Universal's opened a major expansion or a new land over there in Florida? The last major land was Diagon Alley in 2014. It's been 10 years. If I give you Kong, which is one ride, I know Universal likes to be loosey-goosey with their lands. It's one ride. And I think with an outdoor vending cart or something. I don't know. That's a land, apparently, right? Okay, fine. If I give you Kong, Skull Island, you're talking 2016. It's still a long time ago. So this article is like, yeah, you know, it's been 5 whole years. What? Look how long it's been since Universal has done that, you know? And then you could say, well, Universal opened Velocicoaster. They opened Hagrid's. They did. They opened a lot of individual rides, but so did Disney while they were building new lands like Pandora and Galaxy's Edge and Cosmic Rewind and Ratatouille and this, that. Disney was doing both. And a lot of people don't understand how long it's been since Universal Orlando has had a major expansion. It's been a long time.
And let's look at those lands from Disney, shall we? Because Pandora was 2017. Toy Story Land was 2018. Despite of what people think about it, it's still a land, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Galaxy's Edge, 2019. That's 3 lands simultaneously, 1, 2, 3, from 2017 to 2019. Then, of course, of the occurrences that happened in 2020, that apparently that people think, okay, Disney should still have been building stuff when they didn't even know what the hell was going on. Like none of us knew what was going to go on in 2020. We didn't know how long. We thought, not to be rude, we would be back to work in 2 weeks. Guess what? It didn't, you know? So things happened, things changed. They kind of had to maneuver the way that all of us had to do as individuals, as employees, as businesses, as a society, as a world, you know? So it's not just on Disney's part. And now, yeah, okay, 5 years later, you know, still, as you made that point, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Cosmic Rewind, Tron. Yeah, okay, it took Tron 6 years. Okay, I'll give it that. But I mean, but still, it's...
But when the article's saying 5 whole years, oh my God. But you're talking only 5 years, like how long Universal's been. And within those past 5 years, we had a pandemic.
Exactly.
I'm like, it's not that long ago. Like, seriously, it really isn't. Like, and I'm not saying that Disney shouldn't look. We've been frustrated with Daddy Josh. We definitely they have to step it up into going forward. They need to announce some big things now. I'm on everyone's side with that. But for the article to make it seem like 5 years is such a long time, and these parks are like just mothballed at this point. It's like, really? Since Universal's last big expansion, Diagon Alley, they've opened 2 major lands, Pandora and Galaxy's Edge. Okay, since Universal's last big land. So, and again, Diagon Alley is awesome. It's great, but come on, this article, I understand what they're doing, but it's a little bit skewed and a little biased, in my opinion. It says here, if Universal flips enough families, it could be a big blow to Disney's most profitable division at a time when the company is struggling to juggle other priorities, including finding its next chief executive, reinvigorating its movie studios, and making money in streaming. And again, yeah, there's a lot of ifs in this article. Absolutely. If Universal can flip a bunch of families, and if they can do this and if they can do that. And I think for the most part, I think Universal will be successful with Epic Universe. But my thing, and I've said this for so long, I think the impact is going to be less. And we get into it in a little bit on this article. I think the impact on Disney World is going to be a lot less than people think it's going to be. I think it's so overstated and so overblown. I think that it will have an impact. I'm not saying it won't, but it's not going to be the Disney killer, so to speak, that a lot of people think this thing is going to be. You know what I'm saying? And like I said before, it could even cannibalize some of Universal's parks. It's not being a Universal hater. That's just common sense. If Disney was building that's why I've said many times, George, I don't want a fifth gate at Walt Disney World. Why? Because it would cannibalize the hell out of the resort. It's not a good idea. Cannibalization is a real thing. The third park at Universal, because there is so much there in Orlando already, has a real possibility of cannibalizing. So
yeah, absolutely. Especially with the studios park of Universal. I mean, that to me, that park is kind of hurting already. So to kind of add Epic Universe into the mix, I think it's really going to be detrimental for that park. And a lot of people are looking at Universal as a whole, where a lot of people that may come down, they may only just take the one day just to go to Epic Universe, because they may say, hey, you know what? We've seen the studios how many times? We don't need to see it again. There's nothing too much to do. And heck, maybe we'll do a day at Islands of Adventure. Okay, that's still 2 days. That's really all you need for Universal, because even though it is a resort complex, it is still not to the level of Disney in the sense where it holds a lot of people in there for longer periods of time.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. I'm telling you, it's up in the air. We'll have to wait and see. When this thing opens up, we'll kind of see the crowd flow, the patterns, and see if Universal can maintain what they have now and build on it. Good for them. I mean, that would be awesome. But I have my doubts. I really, really do. So it says here, over the past decade, Universal Orlando has added multiple hotels that range from budget to luxury. This summer, it will open a new section of the Universal Studios Florida park based on DreamWorks Animation's films such as Shrek and Trolls. Okay. In recent years, Universal has also added rides to its Florida theme parks based on Despicable Me, Fast and Furious, and Jurassic World film franchises. And that's great. And that's awesome. But Disney's been adding stuff from their franchises like Ratatouille and Guardians of the Galaxy and Tron and Toy Story and Star Wars. It's okay. Cool, Universal, but it's not like Disney hasn't done the same thing. So,
and if they mention Fast and the Furious, hopefully they're not talking about Supercharged, because I mean, I don't know, like how much of a gamble you're getting off for that one.
Right, exactly. So it says here, the new Universal Park, Epic Universe, could lead Walt Disney World's attendance to decline by about 1 million visitors in the 2 years spanning 2025 and 2026. Now, to be fair to Universal, this article, again, is saying 2 years. It's not really 2 years, though. From what I understand, Epic Universe isn't really opening until the summer of 2025. Right. So it's more like a year and a half. So we got to be fair. The article, again, this article is kind of riddled with this weird stuff. But yeah, it's not a full 2 years, according to a new analysis from Moffett Nathanson, and boost overall attendance at Universal's 3 parks in the area of more than 8 million. So correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong. For me personally, right?
Really quick, bro. Sorry, while you're saying so, but now they're saying with 2 years from 2025 to 2026.
Yeah, the years 2025, 2026. Those 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but okay. So it's saying it's going to take it's going to cause Walt Disney World to decline by about 1 million visitors in those 2 years, in 2025 and 2026, right?
2026. Right.
I've been hearing so much hype about this Epic Universe thing coming into town, and the game is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. Again, correct me in the comments if I am. I have no problem being wrong. For me personally, that seems very lethargic. You're talking
Mm-hmm.
you're talking like what, 500,000 each year? I mean, I've seen Disney parks dip worse than that without a new park down the street. Like, I don't understand why that is. I don't know. No one's talking about that on social media. That doesn't seem like a very impressive figure to me. Does it to
Yeah,
you?
when
I
I
mean,
no, when I read it and I thought, okay, and these are like analytical, statistical maybes or what ifs, but I mean, even if it did come true,
is 1 million really gonna?
is that really going to hurt them? I don't really see how or why.
Right. So that's why I'm saying, like, that's why I was kind of taken aback by that. And again, I could be wrong. Maybe that is a significant number. It just doesn't seem like it when Magic Kingdom alone is pulling like what, 20 million, 25 million a year?
Roughly, yeah, I believe so.
And you're talking about 1 million with this park that's supposed to change the freaking game. I don't know, man. I that number was like low for me personally. It seemed low.
And that's within the 2 years. Yeah, so as you said, that's like 500,000 per year. Like,
right. Like that's that. I mean, and look, there's a lot of this is the issue with a lot of this stuff. There is a lot of moving parts here, so it's not just about attendance, right? Like you were saying earlier, it's about where do families stay when they're on these properties. Are they going to stay at the Universal Hotel for the week and a half? Are they going to stay at a Disney hotel for the week? All that comes into play. All that matters, so it's not just so cut and dry. Like, this isn't the only metric at which success is measured, to be fair to Universal, you know what I'm saying? But in terms of this metric, this isn't impressive to me.
Yeah. And even if they were to pull that number, chances are that's still going to be inaccurate, because those people will still find a day or two or several days to even still go to Disney World. I'm sorry. The fact is that when people travel on vacation and they go down to Orlando, Florida, yes, they could be going for the center main attraction, which is a brand new theme park for Universal's Epic Universe. But at the same time, don't tell me that majority of the percentage of those people don't at least make one stop to Disney.
They do, yeah, and I think people devil's advocate would say, well, that's true, but if they were able to pull at least one day away from Disney, that's a success. I guess, yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess that would be considered a success, yeah, but we'll see if that even happens, though.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
But it's still not going to be to Disney's blunder. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Disney's not going to be coming to kneel down to Universal, even just for that one day. Right. It's like, even if Universal gets that one day, okay, good for them. They got a new theme park.
But then Disney builds Villains Land and they make it up the next year. It's not a massively significant thing. You know what I'm saying? Especially this 1 million in 2 years. Like, that's not anything. Yeah. I mean, that's I don't know. I mean, we'll see, man. So Craig Longhurst, let's kind of read this guy's story here, who works in real estate development and management in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Once a year, typically takes his two sons, 15 and 10, each to Walt Disney World individually. Lately, he's grown irritated at the rising cost of visiting the theme parks. The latest Moana-themed walkthrough attraction isn't interesting enough to warrant a trip, he said. They're going to continue to charge these prices, Longhorn said. They're going to have to invest in the parks and develop some new attractions that get me into the park with my money. I mean, that's fair. But here's the thing. Like I said, it's not. See, this is what bothers me. He takes the Moana walkthrough thing. He completely ignores Cosmic Rewind. He completely ignores Tron. There's all these other big investments going on, and we're going to focus on the water feature. You know what I'm saying?
It's not the only thing in the park.
Well, it's not the only new thing either. And it's for me, and that's fine. Craig Longhurst, dude, it's you and your family. You have a right to spend your money wherever you want to spend it. I just think it's kind of like a little bit, I don't know. You're kind of leaving out a lot of the story here. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like it's crazy. You know, it would be like me saying,
Let's
yeah,
just call it what it is, the National Enquirer. You know, it's like
right. Well, it's kind of like me saying, like, oh, well, you know, why would I go to Universal? All they did was add that Minions area over there at the studio park. It's like, okay,
yeah,
but
you're going to ignore Harry Potter.
you're gonna
You know,
ignore Hagrid's and
yeah.
Velocicoaster. Like, it's just kind of a little bit like, all right, man, you know, trying to make your point. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand with it. And you know, it's interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out. Look, at the end of the day, dude, I want Universal to succeed. I want them to succeed because I do think competition is good. And I actually like Universal's product a great deal. I really do. We're planning a Universal trip very soon. It's a great product, you know, but I like to, when we do these Universal videos, I like to put a little bit of context into this stuff because a lot of times people they're frustrated with Disney and they just want to like, yeah, go Universal, you know, and they don't really look at what's happening or what is actually being said. And they just kind of jump on it because they're rooting for Universal because it's the underdog thing. And I understand that. But when you really dive into this stuff and really think about it, it's not so black and white. There's a lot of gray and nuance in this stuff. And that's why I like to do these videos because we kind of bring forth that. And a lot of people don't, unfortunately, you know, for whatever reason, I'm not really sure. Now, I do want to bring up one thing, George, before we kind of wrap it up. This is kind of funny to me, bro. Corrections and amplifications. A photo shows riders on the Expedition Everest roller coaster at Walt Disney World's Animal Kingdom Park. An earlier version of this article incorrectly said it was the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. Hey, bro, you know, dude. I mean, when you don't even know that's not ever. I mean, you don't even know what ride that is, and everything else comes into question, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's kind of where I stand with it. We'll see what happens. Like I said, hopefully Universal can have a win under their belt. But I'm going to stay true to what I've been saying the whole time. I do believe it will cannibalize their own parks a little bit. It's not going to destroy Universal either. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be some adjustments here with this new park coming into play. And I think Universal and Disney will both be fine. But yeah, but anyway, great article by the Wall Street Journal. Interesting stuff, you know, to say the least. But any final thoughts, George, before we kind of take off today?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting before we do that I just thought of right now is a lot of people saved their Walt Disney World trip, possibly, for Epic Universe. So for the people that could be coming down in, just to say, the summer of 2025, they may still be able to play catch up with Walt Disney World. They may not have experienced Tron. They may not have experienced Cosmic Rewind. They may not have experienced Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. A lot of people, and I think that this kind of played in the attendance for Walt Disney World, possibly, so people can kind of, while they're down here, to say, hey, you know what? We want to experience Walt Disney World, but we're going to wait for Epic Universe to open so we can save a day for that. It can kind of play the roles reversed a little bit, because for those people that can come down for Epic Universe, depending on what Disney announces at D23 this August, people might say, hey, you know what? In a couple years, let's wait to go to Epic Universe, let the crowds die down a little bit. And while we come down for that, then the stuff for Disney World would be open. And this is where it's like a tit for tat, tat for tit sort of thing, where it's like a lot of people are like
watch your mouth, young man. Watch your mouth.
It's like people pin Disney and Universal up against each other all the time, but in reality, I feel like that one always helps the other out, even if it's not their intention.
Yeah, no, they do. A rising tide raises all ships. I was told, I'm telling you, that the conversations on social media about what's going to happen when Super Mario comes to California, what's going to happen to Disneyland, what's going to happen when Mario comes into town. You know what happened? Disneyland Resort has been outperforming Disney World. That's what happened. Because, you know, it's exactly what you're saying, George. People are coming to California to go see Mario. And they are, to huge success. It's a great land. You know what I'm saying? They come to Universal to go see Mario, but while they're in California, they're going to Disneyland too. And that's why I think we are seeing a healthy business out here, despite Nintendo opening. And I think you're probably going to see something very similar in Florida, like you were saying, George, where people come to Universal for Epic Universe, and while they're there, they're still going to spend a lot of time at Disney. So yeah, we'll just kind of see. But it hasn't hurt us in California, Nintendo World, not one bit. I mean, in terms of the earnings calls, Disneyland has been more on the up than Disney World.
Yeah.
Despite
and quite frankly, I mean, I know a lot of people don't do a lot of cross-country traveling, you know, but there are people who do. And I feel like Super Nintendo World has been out enough that majority of the people have experienced the land, have experienced Toadstool, have experienced Mario Kart. The only thing I feel like that's really going to draw them into the land, yeah, you'd have the Yoshi attraction, which would be different, but it's really going to be Donkey Kong. Right. And I feel like that's going to be the more hard ticket attraction that's going to get butts into that land, because other than that, not saying the rest wouldn't be any good, but I think like since Japan, Universal's Japan, and then Universal Hollywood, everyone kind of got their feel of the land itself of Nintendo. Majority, not all, everyone, but majority.
Yeah, people have seen it online now. A lot of people have experienced it in California, and you know, people in Japan as well, obviously. You know, and a good friend of mine, actually, I don't want to say his name publicly because I don't know if he wants me to share it, but he was telling me that he thinks Epic Universe, it kind of caters a little bit too much to the male audience, like boys, which is interesting because I never really thought about that. But when you really look at the park, okay, so the Universal monsters are definitely, you know, right?
Right.
Nintendo, I guess, is both. But I would probably, I don't know. I guess
still kind of gears more towards boys,
right?
And then you have Try to Train Your Dragon,
which feels more like guys again.
Yeah,
kind of, right? I mean,
Harry Potter, I think you can kind of go.
That's more
like
mixed.
Down the middle.
That's more mixed. But my friend was, when he said that, I was like, well, you kind of make a point. There's nothing that's inherently like for little girls, like, you know, like you have like a princess thing or a. It's pretty skewed, you know.
So with Universal's IP that they could use, what could they use to kind of offset to kind of, because they're kind of like in the slim pickings there when it comes to.
That's true. That's true.
And that's Universal's problem too.
They don't really have a lot. You're right in terms of the female, for little girls. There's not a whole lot for that. And not to say little girls can't like Mario, and I'm not saying that before people jump on me. I'm just saying, like, you know, in terms of general demographics, there isn't like a real like female centric IP in this park.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I thought that was an interesting point that he made. I didn't really consider that. I didn't even think about it, to be honest with you, until he brought it up. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good point. You know. So, yeah, we'll see, man. Interesting conversation. George, before we go, if you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And, of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There we go. And we got to get ready because we're going to be doing a video with the one and only Michael Webber, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. We're going to talk all about Disneyland Forward. That vote, the unanimous vote, 7-0. We're almost there, y'all. We're almost there. It got approved. We only got one more vote. Yes. We're
almost there. You know, we just have to wait for the Anaheim City Council to dig a little deeper, and then we'll see everyone on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG 55, and until the next time. 세상이 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.